This is Wild About Liberty, where the community joins together. Now here's your host, Terry Wild.
Thank you for tuning into the program today. We have a couple of guests that really have spent time and effort working in behalf of Christianity and politics, because that's the theme of our show today is God and politics and how that dynamic works and what it means to people. So first of all, we have Kay Roddenberry. And Kay, you have been involved in a lot of things we'll talk about. And Fred Vanderhoff, you've been the chairman of the Republican Party for a number of years. You really know what's going on, and so we'll be hearing from Fred. And so why don't we begin the show? Fred, why don't you give us a little overview of what you're involved in with the Central Committee and how things look for us and how things are lining up for the 2024 elections?
Well, it's a little early. We last Friday was a deadline for people to be running for office. And so one of the biggest issues in the Valley is the retirement of Kevin McCarthy from Congress. And so I think tomorrow, I believe, is the last date that candidates can file for that seat. And so that's be interesting. There's a Vince Fong from Bakersfield, Assemblyman, who's been thinking about it. Locally, David Giglio ran for an office, congressional office last time. So we'll see. There might be somebody else that we haven't heard of yet, but that's an important seat. It takes in a large part of Clovis and goes all the way down to Bakersfield.
And who do you have? Anyone in particular that you like?
No, well, not. We got to see. I'll wait and see who files because we don't know.
Yeah, right.
There's probably going to be one or two others. I would assume, but at that point, we'll take a look at it.
Well, Kevin came out endorsing Trump. How does that?
Right.
What did you think about that?
Well, I think that's good. I think he mentioned something about he wanted to be in the cabinet or something like that. So, yeah, I mean that's I think that's a good thing. And you know, speaking of Trump, the Black American support is surging, and
nice.
He has right now he has about 17% of African American, the black vote. It was about 9% just a couple of years ago. Latinos, it's surging. He has 36% of the Latino vote at this point. We're still a year out from the election. So he's getting so many people that are endorsing him from all different walks of life, all different demographics. And it's because of the dumpster fire that we have going on in Congress and of course, in the White House. So people are really concerned and scared and want to make a change. And so that's why you see unusual people endorsing Trump in this coming year.
So have you seen? Sorry, Kay, I'll just throw this out. Then you can ask. How do you see that whole debate situation? And there are forces within the Republican Party that just don't want Trump to run,
right?
Let alone get elected. Why is that so strong?
You know, it's at the top. You know, in the Republican Party, I would say there's more of an establishment the higher up you go, and many of them don't like Trump and never have liked Trump.
Right.
And he was unusual. He's a fighter. He's from Queens, New York, and I think the rest of us get him. We always have. I know this guy. He loves America and he tells the truth.
And he keeps his promises.
Right, he keeps his promises. Right. I mean, he can't. That's three things. That's great. So people like him. They'll overlook. Yeah, he's a little rude and crude at times. But gosh, we had such a great economy, and he appointed more pro-life judges than any Republican before.
We would be buried in the Supreme Court without him.
Right,
I mean, it would be over.
He moved the embassy, American embassy, to Jerusalem after decades when other people said they would. They never did. But you know, you can go on and on and on. And the Keystone Pipeline, you know, he had that going, and then when Biden took over, then that cut that off. So,
gas prices,
right? So that's why people are that you wouldn't normally see getting involved and wanting to vote for him. Even when he has all these lawsuits.
Yeah,
and,
right. That's
right.
incredible.
Right. So it's an unusual situation, but he's an unusual person. He's not a politician. He's a blue collar billionaire from Queens, New York, and very effective.
I'd like to be one of those. What do you think, Kay?
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
You had a question?
Well, I wanted to ask you about Kevin McCarthy. Now, what is the timeline for that?
I'm not sure of the whole timeline. I've just heard that it's tomorrow, and I haven't checked to see, but I think the filing deadline is tomorrow. I may be wrong on that, but it's coming quickly.
Well,
So
they'll have an election.
yeah, the election I believe would be in May. I think it is. Governor Newsom would have to declare an election to take place to fill that seat. And I think there's a little primary, probably a month ahead of that, and then an actual election to fill that seat. And so I believe it's late spring.
When was his term up?
Well, he had a whole nother year, so it would be up in normally it would be up in January. I mean, they go the elections in November, and then in January
You
is when
think
they
for the
take
good
off.
of the party, he would
Yep, right. Yeah,
stay all the way. I mean,
right.
What do you think caused him to do this?
I don't know. He was obviously frustrated about all the things that are happening in Congress, but yeah, I think it would have been better to have to stay your full term,
Right.
because now the problem is now we're down to I think one or two seats that
one
more than
seat.
Democrats. Yeah, one seat. So if somebody dies or somebody retires,
Yeah.
so we don't want that, but it is what it is. So
Then the last time we had the special election, Gavin Newsom stretched that thing out and played it.
yeah, he's bound by and I'm sure he'll do that again. But I think he can't play it out too long. I think he has a limit too. I think
Right,
it's
right.
May. So we'll just have to see what happens. That's the same thing happened with Devin Nunes.
Devin
seat,
Nunes, that's
and
right.
And then
Yeah.
Connie Conway down in Tulare County
Right.
was a congresswoman for, I forget, 7 months, maybe 8
Yeah.
months, something like that,
Exactly.
and did a great job. And
She did.
So that we'll have somebody fill that seat now. Then at the same time in November we'll have somebody that will be running for a full 2-year term.
Well, how do you see the local races in Fresno County shaping up? What's your sense of that?
Well, we've got the even numbers in Fresno City Council. I think it's 246. Gary Bredefeld is running for supervisor against Steve Brandow.
And that's kind of that's an issue because they're both
Right.
conservative.
Both conservative, both Republicans, both great guys, and it's a tough one. But that's the way it is. So they're gonna go against each other. Are going against each other for that seat.
And then
But-
the Republican Party actually endorsed one of them, right?
No,
They haven't.
They
Well,
have not
that's good.
endorsed either one. That may be a local party can either choose to endorse or not endorse.
Right.
And so probably in January, February, that decision would be made. But the Fresno City Council, this is the fifth.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. Fifth largest city in California. I think we're up to about 550,000 people. And we may end up with no Republicans or maybe one. There's only one Republican now, Gary Bredefeld, in District 6, where Kay lives. And, but he's turned out, so he's running for supervisor. But, hopefully we'll have a Republican that will fill that seat. But we've still got the other seats, which are Democrats, and it's so that's why we encourage people, especially in those other seats south of Shaw, to run for city council, and we need good people on that city council. So we had a Palestinian flag raised last week. Palestinian flag at Eaton Plaza.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. And so, this kind of stuff goes on, and it's really, really frustrating. Fresno's such an important city, and we need to really get behind anybody who's going to run, who's a conservative.
Well, as conservatives, we're trying to organize and to deal with these challenges. And the Republican Party is reorganizing. Since you stepped down, then Elizabeth has taken over the chairmanship. And where do you see us at with that dynamic?
Well, it's always takes a little while for a new chairman, new executive board to start the ball rolling down the hill. So that's hopefully will be taking place after Christmas in January, February, and so we'll have to wait and see what some of the plans are that they have. But it's such an important year.
Well,
So-
there's always been, Kay, a dynamic between the grassroots and any other party. Any Republican or Democrat. There's those within that area, within that, call it viewpoint, that don't agree with each other all the time.
Yeah, I
And-
would say. Oh, go ahead.
But the grassroots people who don't necessarily subscribe to what the Republican Party is doing is active, and you've been part of the Tea Party movement. And tell us how you see that dynamic.
Well, the Tea Party, yes, was
Yeah, get close to Mike.
The Tea Party was definitely grassroots. We worked hard to fight issues such as Obamacare. A lot was going on back then. Now I see the conservatives just wanting to form groups. We have about 25 groups. We know the names of them that are conservative. They banded together to do something, and they do a lot of good things. They have meetings once a month. They have speakers come and talk to them, and they raise money for this and that. The one thing I don't see in these groups, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, but this is a crucial year. Every group has to ask the people in their group, what are we doing about getting people to vote? Because if you're not getting people to vote, all you do is for naught. Everybody's saying for naught, so I'm saying for naught. It doesn't do any good to just raise money for something. We have to get out the vote. And one of the best ways, according to Fred, we should have Fred talk about this because it is face-to-face. Get out in your neighborhood, talk to your neighbors, and become a precinct captain. I'm really pushing that because the research shows that really works.
Well,
Wouldn't you say, Fred?
Oh, I agree. It's so important. I like Kay was saying, we all are so concerned about all that's going on. But what can we do? And going to your neighbors is something that's easy. It may, you have to get out of your house and go down the street and talk to your neighbors. It's not that hard, but like Kay said, it's crucial. And so we need more people to do that. It's real simple, and it will make a big difference. And they've been doing in Arizona. They get, if you get 7 or 8 more votes per precinct, 7 or 8. You can win many elections because so many elections are close. How do you get those 7 or 8 extra votes? Well, you have to go out and remind people to vote. You're the neighbor. I live 2 streets over. Please vote. This is so important. And it's not difficult, but it is so important, and it makes all the difference.
It also makes a basis for being organized, to have a organized group working together.
I talked to my daughter in Tennessee. She has 5 children. She moved from California. She lived in Clovis. She says, I won't go into that, but she's in Tennessee with her 5 children, and they're doing so well. But I asked her, Ann, how could we get people to vote? She says, well, Mom, I remember one time I didn't vote. I was in line to vote. The line was so long that I had to leave to pick up one of the kids from an activity. So little things like that, we can remind people, vote a little earlier so that you don't have to leave for something else. Tell them where to vote. We used to have precincts. This is something that is very upsetting to me. You used to be able to vote down the block in somebody's garage. Do you remember those days? We had a lot of precincts, and people could, it is much more convenient for people to vote. Last time I voted out in Clovis, there were long lines. So we need to do something about that. Help people. I know Trump, he is working on a different agenda for voting. He spoke a couple of days ago at the Young Republicans, and he said, this election will not be rigged. Well, I hope he's telling the truth. We want that. But he said it would be a different kind of election. And I think hopefully we will go back to paper ballots. We know the Dominion voting machines are horrible. And so that's another thing. Help your neighbor. Tell them where to vote, when to vote, how to vote. Make sure they're registered.
I can I share something?
Yeah.
One year when I was a precinct captain, I was tired at about 7:15 because I've been doing it for about 2 hours. The polls closed at 8, and so I said, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go up till about 10 till 8. So I knocked on one of the last doors at 10 till 8, 10 minutes left. And as soon as the lady opened the door and saw me, I barely said, have you vote? She said, oh, I forgot. And she slams the door. Thank you, slams the door. And I'm starting to walk down the sidewalk, and she gets in her car and screeches out of the driveway and goes around the corner.
Nice.
And so she barely made it, but she made it. So that's what we're talking about. Right. Those types of things do happen when you get out there.
Well, it's critical to be able to be organized and have excuse me, and have a structure for people to get out and vote. So we're putting together the county precinct program that just involves finding people willing to volunteer as a precinct captain and a precinct worker. It can be more than one person for Fresno County. And we put some things together to make that happen. We have a coalition called Fresno County Coalition, and Fred and Kay, you're involved in that. I'm involved in that, with the idea that we want to attract people to volunteer, be part of this network. There's 600 precincts in Fresno County. And if we can manage to organize 600 people, that's a huge thing. That if people are concerned, if you're worried about having this left woke agenda continue on, if you want to see that change, then you should volunteer and become part of this precinct plan. You can do that by going to FresnoCountyCoalition.com. There's a place for you to fill out your information, and that's going to pick up after the first of the year. We're just putting that together now structurally, and then we're going to put a lot of effort into it after the holidays. But at least we're starting to do something.
Yes. And you're thinking right now, oh, that's too much. I can't do it. I have a sore knee or whatever. But we have made it really easy to be a precinct captain. We've made 3 levels. The first level, you can talk to 3 to 5 people on your block, or even your friends if you can't get out and walk. That's just the easy peasy way to do it. But we're glad to have you, because the little bit that you do is better than nothing. And then the second level is to be a regular precinct captain, and we don't have time to go into that, but you'll get a list of everyone in your precinct, and you could just go to the Republicans, or you could go to everybody, because it seems like a lot of Democrats, like Fred was saying, they're moving over to the Republican side because of what's happening in our country.
And people need to know, too, when they do this, they go out and talk to people as a precinct captain. The people they talk to that open the door, they aren't all mad and cuss you out and close the door or anything like that. They'll listen. And that's important to know. You're going to people that are concerned like we are about all these different things. And so they will listen for 30 seconds or a minute. And they're...
Yeah.
Well, it's just a fact that the most effective way to get a vote is the precinct plan and going door to door. The candidates do that. Everybody knows that if you can go door to door and talk to someone, then you've got a chance of getting that vote. So there isn't anything more important that I'm aware of to be able to affect getting a vote. And, we're a faith-based organization here, and we're all faith-based that are working to do this. And that just means that we want certain values to be upheld. We want our representatives in the state assembly, in the Senate. We want a governor. We want a secretary of state that's going to represent our values, Christian Judeo values. So if that's meaningful to people, if that's meaningful to you, then all you have to do is go to our website, leave your information. Someone will get in touch with you. And at the first of the year, we're going to start really organizing and making a bigger effort to sit and to get this precinct plan up and running. And so, you've been doing it, Fred and Kay, for a number of years, actually. You've been organizing it. And so tell us a little bit about your experience with getting the precinct captains.
Well, one of the things I think that's very important when you go to the door, they want some information, not just from you, but we have developed information such as right before the elections, there will be a form, maybe a door hanger that says, who are the endorsements? Like there are certain positions like judges. Nobody knows who they are, and it's really hard to do the research on them, and nobody really takes the time to do it. But we have a list of what maybe the different groups have endorsed, such as the GOP, the Republican Party of Fresno County. Who have they recommended? And when I give that to people, they say, "Oh, good! I've been waiting for this. Thank you. Now I can vote." So we're doing things to help people out. Another thing that we have done, we were working on this yesterday, is a list of things, and it's very easy to come up with this because what do the Democrats believe? What do the Republicans believe? It's so easy now to see the difference. There's a huge gap. So this information we'll give to you so that you can share it with the voters so they can decide who to vote for.
Fred, when you come at this thing from a faith-based position, it really makes it possible to be able to encourage certain things. And one of them would be, in my mind, that makes this different than a typical political based, plan, is we want 600 people to volunteer, but we want 600 people to pray for their district and to beseech God, just like our founders did. They, of all people, Benjamin Franklin, he said, look, we're at the end here. We don't have the strength to take on this gigantic force of England. They had the most formidable military force on the planet. I think they sent 400 ships at one point, what I was told.
Yeah, they did.
And it was beyond us. We were just like grasshoppers. Mm-hmm. But then they prayed and they sought God, and miracles began to happen. So we're not trying to advocate some weird religious viewpoint on any of this. We're just saying, let's do exactly what our forefathers did. Turn to God, implement God's, way of doing things, which is to pray, beseeching God, doing what's right in God's eyes. That's a cool thing to do. Right. I mean, I'm excited about telling those 600 people, look at, we're not saying you have to conform to any religious standard. everybody interprets the Bible their own way, so we're not getting into that. What we are saying is, if you're someone that believes in Jesus Christ, then participate, become a volunteer, and the most important thing you can do as a volunteer for that precinct is to pray for it. Pray for your neighborhood, pray for your neighbors, and to seek God so we can win and get more votes than the other guy.
As far as the founding fathers, I had to laugh yesterday. We had quite a lively conversation. We all agreed on what would the Democrat, as far as a platform, and what would the Republican platform be. But, it was the wording that we were trying to get right so that people would understand our point of view. And I was thinking the founding fathers, I'm sure, had the same lively conversations back there as far as we're concerned. And that's what it is. We just need to get our point of view out to the voters. What is a conservative? What are the points on conservative or liberal? That's what's important.
And it really is, Fred. They're our example. Those guys got together. They didn't agree on almost anything, either religiously or politically. They all had opposing viewpoints, but through some, miracle of God, they came to a point of unity. They gave us this document, this Declaration of Independence that is majestic. They gave us this Constitution that has never been equaled in history. They gave us a Bill of Rights, but that came from slugging it out in these meetings, arguing and disagreeing and calling each other out and calling each other names.
We didn't do that.
Huh?
Yesterday, we didn't do that.
No, we didn't do that. But
we just were quibbling a little bit over the wording. What would people understand better?
But look what they did, all that, and they came up with this beautiful country.
Right.
Yes.
The country had never been perfect. It's always had its problems. So no one is trying to say America is just this idealistic, perfect place. But it gives us a dream and a hope,
right,
like no other place on the planet, an opportunity.
That's right.
And one of our last points was the Democrats want to ignore the Constitution.
Why don't you read those points? So just tell the audience what you've come up with.
Well, maybe we can do it together.
Go ahead.
Okay, the first one, the Democrats want to defund the police. That was a real issue a while back. What happened? More crime. People are complaining. You want to do the Republicans?
Sure. Okay. Low crime, which just simply means more safety. So we want more police. And by the way, Fresno City now has the most police that we've ever had. Thank God. But we need to do that in every city in this nation.
Right.
Second one, higher taxes. Democrats always want to raise their taxes. What does that mean? Less money in your pocket. And there are taxes on everything. We have the gas tax. Look at our roads. Are they doing anything with the gas tax? And
lower taxes mean more money in your pocket.
Right. Third one, we could go on and on about this. Deny parent rights.
Oh,
this
boy.
is crucial right now in the day of this transgenderism. They want to be able to take the kids off campus for this and that, gender therapy and all this. There are 50 gender dysphoria clinics in the United States. This is happening out there. You think, oh, that's something that's happening in New York City. No, I know several people that are changing their gender. This is scary, and our kids are thinking it's cool to be transgender. So it's horrible.
But look at, Fred, where that goes with parental rights. Is all we're saying is let it be decided by the parents.
Right.
You have to be a lunatic to think that an 8-year-old child, which is they're getting down even lower than that, has the right, and the state will take them out of your family if you oppose them from wanting to identify in a different sex.
It's evil.
Yeah.
Absolutely evil to do that to young children.
And that should get you off your couch.
That's
let
right.
alone. Okay, for the fourth one, open borders, more lawlessness.
So Republicans believe in border security, safety, and protection.
Number 5, late-term abortions.
Republicans are pro-life.
Number 6, big government, less freedom. You can't even build in the state of California. Hardly somebody I know has a land in Cambria. They can't build on that. The Coastal Commission won't let them. All the bureaucracy, it's crazy. So big government.
Small government, more freedom.
Right. Number 7, censorship. It just seems like we hear so many lies on TV, just the loss of truth. And if the truth tries to get out there, it just can't. They just shut it down. So people just believe what they hear on TV. And what about the Republicans?
Freedom of speech equals truth.
Right. So many things. We could have a whole show on that. Number 8, illegal voting, dishonest elections.
Voter ID, honest elections.
So that really, I don't know how we got suckered into letting this top 2 approach to electing people. It used to be a Democrat and a Republican. And how did we get, how did that happen? How did we?
Well, it was Prop 14. It was many years ago. And unfortunately, it was a Republican billionaire who helped fund that.
Was that the Koch brothers?
No.
No.
It was, I forgot the name, but he was, I forgot the name.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah,
Right.
he's the one who funded that.
And so now
We're stuck with it.
It really needs to return to a one-day voting system, paper ballots, get off the
Yes.
machines. I mean, it's
Right.
Right.
Do you see any hope for that? Do you see that a way that we can?
There is. I can't talk about it on the air, but there is some hope in California. It's in the legal process. And I'll say this much. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has been considered one of the most liberal, because of Trump, he appointed some new judges to the Ninth Circuit.
Right.
Ninth Circuit has somewhere around 30 judges.
Right.
Well, Trump appointed several more, I think a handful. But that was enough to make it a little more conservative. The Ninth Circuit has had at least one election integrity case come before it, and it ruled in favor of the organization that is concerned about election integrity. So there's going to be more coming on that, hopefully in the next 2 months.
But
And Trump promised in his last speech with the new Republicans, he said, this election will not be rigged. And I want to believe that.
But it goes back to what we're talking about. We have to get organized effectively. And this precinct plan that we're trying to put together is kind of an ongoing organizational concept. It's perpetual. And it gives us this ability to reach into the entire county. And so if people want to make a difference, just volunteer. You have 3 different levels you can choose. Your time is really your own, how you go about doing this.
Yeah.
So it's a way to get organized. It's a way to affect change. And the other thing, I think you have one more, right, Kay?
We do have one more, and the last one I think is the most important. The Democrats love to pass laws that they know are unconstitutional, like all the gun laws. They know it's going to be thrown out by the Supreme Court. They pass it anyway, so that the Republicans have to spin their wheels and their money to try to take it through the court system. So they want to ignore the Constitution, and that means our loss of our Bill of Rights, all those Bill of Rights, the first 10 Bill of Rights that we desperately need.
And Republicans want to follow the Constitution and keep our rights. And the Second Amendment rights, First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, freedom to preach the gospel.
Yes.
And that's at risk also. In Canada and some places in Europe and many other countries, it's illegal. Well, in some areas of Canada, not the whole country, but it's becoming increasingly illegal to, if not preach the gospel, to believe in traditional marriage. And
Right.
so and these are First Amendment issues. And our new speaker, Mike Johnson, is a constitutional attorney, and so he
How
understands.
encouraging.
Yeah,
that
it
guy.
is. So anyway, that's
But you know, the fact is, there are enough votes in California. Now, this is according to my own personal research. I spent the time crunching numbers, looking at demographics, looking at the whole spread of the people groups. For example, Christians as a people group in California, the numbers I have, only 50% of those surveyed are registered to vote. Of the ones that are registered, only 25% vote. So that would be one people group. Then you have the Hispanics. The Hispanic population in Fresno is what, 60%?
some 56 or something like that.
56%?
Yeah, right, close.
Well, they are naturally inclined for God, family, country. And there's an opportunity, like Trump is getting more and more Hispanic voting.
Right.
There's another people group that we can appeal to with this precinct program, with this organizational approach to try and get our message to who?
Right.
This people group, the Christians. And the other one is the Christians, and then the Hispanics, and then you have the no party preference people. And I think they're mostly former disgruntled Republicans, but they are more inclined to be conservative. So I see the votes being out there. That's what I believe.
Right.
And so the question is, what is it going to take to get them to believe they're the majority? Because we're being lied to, we're being deceived, we're being played by the status quo supermajority people that are coming out of LA, San Francisco, and so do you agree with that? Do you see that there is a potential to actually flip California? I'm thinking by 2026.
Yeah, I think there always is. If enough people vote, you can flip any state, and that's the key to get people to vote. Yeah, here in that's why the radio is so important. Many Hispanics, for instance, especially those who are first generation, listen to the Spanish radio, and so advertisements on Spanish radio and advertisements on any radio station is so important.
Well, we have Ted Laurent was just on a program recently, and this guy has fire in the belly. He's got a passion. He has a calling, and we're trying to get him on KXEX. Thank God for the Marino family.
Right.
Lisa and Guillermo, they've given us this platform, this opportunity to be on the radio. And so we're trying to get people like Ted, yourself. I'd love to see you have a program on KXEX. We're appealing to Fernando Benazuelos. He's got fire in the belly, and there's others as well. Tom Summers, one of our pillars in the community, and he has a history, and he's sort of an elder at the gate in my mind. But he has wisdom to give us. He has insight. He has common sense. So radio is important. And then there's Christian News Magazine, which I've been, getting this thing up and going is tough. But it gives us another way to reach people with our message effectively. And it's a very specific audience. We want the Christian community to hear all this and to be part of the precinct program. So that's starting in January, hopefully, monthly. And so it gives us another way to deliver our message.
Can you talk about how they can help with the Christian News Magazine?
Well, we're dealing with the chicken and the egg. I've been doing publishing now for 50 years, so I really understand the nature of that industry. Mm-hmm. And we need people to subscribe, but we have to show consistency. that we're able to deliver that publication every month. And in order to financially do it, we need advertising and subscriptions. So we've come up with a really fantastic rewards program. If you subscribe $9.50 a month, for example, you can realize benefits from discounts up to 50% on things you need every day. $20, $30 a month is realistic. So you're actually getting your money back plus more. So if we can pull that off, then it gives us another way to reach people. So if they're interested, they can go to christiannewsmagazine.com, check it out, read it, see if it's something that they would be interested in.
How about delivering the news magazine?
Well, you guys, both of you have been so helpful in doing that in the past. You know, publishing any kind of a publication on a regular basis citywide, we'll say Selma, especially Clovis being so highly populated, you don't even think of that unless you can put $100,000 in the bank, and it's more like $250,000. That is what you would normally expect to invest to start a weekly or a monthly, rather, publication. So we've been doing it on the shoestring. And again, you know, you have to show consistency before you would expect anyone to, you know, support it, especially financially. But that's the way it's designed. And so we did all these publications in the past specifically to help Kevin Cookingham get elected. But you guys got the distribution out. That was what you did, Kay, so effectively.
I think you did more than anybody, Terry.
Well, I did, but it took, you know, I love doing that, by the way. I had a ball. I'm in the driver's seat of my van, my SUV. I got the window down. I have them all folded and rubber banded. Yeah. And now I'm tossing them out of the passenger window onto the driveway. Now, that's typical.
That sounds like fun, and it is.
Well, I hit this one guy in the head. He was turning over. Now, this guy happened to, there wasn't a place on his body that wasn't tattooed, including the top of his head. And he was turning the corner of his driveway, and he looked up, and I hit him smack in the forehead. And I thought, oh, my God, this is going to be bad. And he just smiled and waved. I thought, oh, thank you, God. But yeah, some odd things happen.
Yeah.
But we put 10,000 copies of the paper here. They were gone in 3 days. So thank you, Kay and Fred.
So many people helped out with that, and they were mostly precinct captains that just stepped up to do one more thing.
But, you know, we're really pushing the precinct thing, Fred. We need to get that manned. We need to get 600 people on board. So tell people what you think and why they should support that.
Well, let me go back real quick to the founders. I was reading, I didn't realize many of the statements in the Declaration of Independence Thomas Jefferson wrote, and others, even the Constitution, they're from pastors. Some well-known pastors of the day, and they took some time, word by word, word for word, like went into the Declaration. So pastors got involved. In the 1820s and 30s, it was a pastor who got involved, and that period of time led to the winning of the Civil War, because it brought people to realize, hey, we need to get involved in this anti-slavery movement because this stuff is crazy and evil. And so it was pastors, and one of them said, God will bless or curse a nation according to the role that Christians take in politics. And that encouraged many Christians to get involved in the anti-slavery movement. So, yeah, we need pastors to step up and encourage their people to become precinct captains, to get involved, to vote, but do more than vote. Also do. So please, we need you. We do. Precinct captains to volunteer, and it's not that hard, and it's so important. You will make a huge difference.
And you can do that by going to FresnoCountyCoalition.com. And the whole thing about the pastors is we need them. We need you. If you're a pastor and if you're listening, we have a program that's put out by Salt and Light Council that gives you all the information you need to know about your 501c3, the do's and the don'ts. So all that's readily available. We're excited about the precinct program. If you are looking to make a change, if you feel God wants you to be involved in changing this country, changing the values, bringing our values back to where they are supposed to be, then help us and help yourself. Become a precinct captain. Fred, again, great show. Kay, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
What a blessing you both are for the community and for us. Thank you for listening to Wild About Liberty. We're grateful that you're listening. God bless.
Thank you for listening to Wild About Liberty with Terry Wild, only on KXEX 1550.